Welcome to Gamescom. We're here at the Larian booth looking at Divinity Original Sin. We've just taken a look at some of the gameplay features, and I have a few questions. So we've got one of the Larian guys here to sit down and talk to us. Would you like to introduce yourself first?
I'm David Walgrave, producer of Original Sin at Larian.
Okay, so we don't really need to do an introduction of the game. We've got the presentation that we've just seen. So jumping straight in, I'm really curious about, you were showing off the interaction between the characters and how the relationship between them will change the ending and will influence the ending when it actually gets there. Are you going with a simple black and white ending, like there's two, or will it be a case of there are, like, how many endings are you thinking of?
The writers haven't really decided yet. So there are indeed two endings to the story, like they really don't like each other or they kind of like each other. But we of course know that there are so many dialogues in there that we are going to get a lot of statistics about how do they feel about certain topics, that we can do more with that. We have that data, why not use it in the story? And so it is possible, depending on, of course, how many time we have left and how much money we have left to do that.
Yeah, I mean, from looking at some of the speech options, it seems like, you know, the relationship between them could end up as business partners, friends, lovers, enemies. Like,
well, they'll never really turn hostile because they'll always be on the good side. They're not going to start attacking each other. They're not going to leave each other. But indeed, they might hate each other's guts.
Yeah.
So it is possible that you're fighting for the same cause, but still you dislike each other. That's possible. So yeah, but we're using certain adjectives like he's compassionate, she's not, and that is really going to define everything.
The role system that's in play regarding the characters actually interact with each other, and you can choose, even when playing co-op, you can choose what they're saying to each other, and if they, when it comes to a quest, they can, you know, argue with each other about what the correct answer is. Why did you put in a system like that?
Well, we're heavily inspired not only by Divine Divinity, our first game, or even by Ultima, but also by tabletop RPGs. So a lot of people at Larian are really like these old school RPG players, CRPG players, and that came because they were also tabletop RPG players. And if you're playing a tabletop RPG and the dungeon master says you come into a bar, what do? There's not always like one guy that yells, we're going to go do this and this and that. You talk to your party and you discuss amongst yourselves. And that's also what we want to get out of this game, that not one guy is running around and calling all the shots.
It also makes the second player feel more involved, because in a lot of RPGs you see, you know, they're just kind of a mercenary that the first player has hired, sort of thing, because they can't do much. It really feels like you're giving it to both people in this.
Indeed. So from a technical point of view, there is a leader because he's the server at that point, but he's not really the party leader because everyone indeed has an equal say. It's also interesting because you can only you're only involved in a dialogue if you're close enough to it. So you could actually split up and one guy can start making decisions all over the place because the other guy is not following. So that also makes some funny moments.
Okay, so given the size of what we've seen in the conversations you were showing us, how long a game are we looking at?
That's a dangerous question.
But it's a good one.
Yes. Well, the problem is, for instance, for the first Divinity, we said like, it's a 30, 40-hour RPG. And there were people who said like, I finished it in 100 hours. And you can actually spend 100 hours in the game. But you also had guys who said like, what do you mean I finished it in 20 hours? But an RPG, it gives you so many choices and options, and you don't really have to always do everything. You don't have to investigate every square inch of every level. And you have players who don't do that, and you have players who do that. So for this one, it's again hard to tell how long anyone is going to spend in it. I'm going to spend 100 hours in it.
But you're looking for a longer experience then?
So let's say for an average, it's going to be 30, 40 hours again, and we'll get the same stuff as we did for the first Divinity.
Okay. Do you want to give people a website that they can go to find out more information, and is there a release date?
They can go to divinityoriginalsin.com, and we're going for the second quarter of 2013.
Okay, well, thank you very much for letting us take a look at your game.
My pleasure.